Hi, I'm Ken Brown, CEO of Destiny Global, and welcome to this edition of Freedom Lifestyle. Today, I have something so incredible for you. I'm not going to take a long time introing it now because I did it actually right before the training happened. But I want you to sit back. I want you to get your pen and paper out because you're about to be blown away. You're going to learn about capacity, but more important than that, you're going to learn how to increase your capacity today. Today's topic is going to be white space, and it's none other than our own, my wife, coach and coach trainer here at Destiny Global, Dr. April Brown. She is so uniquely equipped to teach on this. Why? Because it's something she literally uses every day. She has to put up with me. You can totally understand. But the truth is she uses white space to really clear herself and get focused and work through negative thoughts. But really what she does is understand and break things down to understand what is really going on inside of her that she needs to work on to be who God intended her to be. And today you're going to get trained by this exceptional person. And I want you to welcome to this stage right now, Dr. April Brown.
Thank you, Labor.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that introduction. And that's true. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about capacity first, and that leads into white space. And first of all, what is capacity? If you think of a phone, it has a certain amount of capacity, and you have something up in the top right hand corner of your phone that tells you about the capacity of your phone. It tells you your battery life. How much battery life do you have? And usually how much you're using the phone. You might have apps that are continually open. If you're like me, you have all kinds of things continually open, and that drains your battery. It drains it faster according to what you're using it for and what you're doing with it. And so what do you do when you begin to run out of battery life? You have to plug it in. You have to take the time to plug it into the source where you get that energy, that strength to keep going. And that's like us. We do have to plug in, just like our phone has a battery and it runs out of capacity. We can get over capacity. And when that happens, have you ever just kind of like, you didn't even understand why, but you just felt like, and you just began to have no control of your emotions? Mm-hmm. That's a sign that you are over capacity. And what happens when you do that? You go to your kids, you go to your husband, and you spill over your overcapacity to them. And they might be on the edge of capacity themselves, according to what has happened to them that day. And you're spilling over into them, and then they're spilling over into someone else. And so we begin to have this kind of domino effect of people over capacity. And sometimes we have expectations on people, maybe our children or our husband, according to how they were designed, that maybe that's not their natural gifting. We have expectations on them. And so they get over capacity because they want to please. Our kids want to please, but they might not have the maturity to be able to do what has been asked of them or required of them. They don't have the skills. So those are how do you increase your capacity? You increase your capacity by how you learn skills, that you continue to learn new skills. And just think of anything that you try to do. If you go and try to do it without kind of learning the skill, you try to go cook. Anybody try to cook without having any skills in that? What happens? You are probably going to mess it up. And so that is like with everything we do, we learn skills, we learn communication skills, we learn so many skills that we need to learn of how to interact with people, that it increases our capacity. And doesn't everybody want to increase our capacity? Because we don't want to feel out of control of our emotions. We want to be able to control our spirits. And so there are three ways. There is, just like I said, learning new skills. There's also maturity, just like I talked about with children, that when they're at a certain age, they're just not going to have the maturity. So It might be looking and assessing, are they mature enough for this task? What are they mature enough to do? Asking them to do a task that they're not mature enough is just going to cause frustration for them and frustration for us, and create us and them to be over capacity. So we have to learn skills. We have to recognize maturity and the abilities and skills that people do have. They might not have learned those skills to do that. And also time, because we know that time is where we grow in our maturity. We get more and more mature with time. But we also know that how we use our time is what creates us to be either over capacity or grow our capacity. It's if we are doing things that are not helping us to get these skills, and we're just kind of not even being intentional with our time, we're just kind of going about our day, not thinking about what we're doing, how we're just watching TV mindlessly.
Yes.
And we think that that's helping us. But anything we're doing really kind of mindlessly, if it's not with intention and purpose, it's probably not serving us well. We have to do what we all know is self-care. If you've ever heard on an airplane, you've been on an airplane, you know this, you've probably even heard this before. And let me tell you, just because you've heard something doesn't mean you know it. Because you do not know it unless you are applying it. So when you apply something, that means you know it. So I want you to listen. I want you to hear this. Even if you've heard it for the 10th time, I want you to understand how to apply it. And that is when you're on an airplane, the stewardess will say that put the oxygen on who? Who do you put the oxygen on first? Yourself? Yes. You put the oxygen on yourself first. But our first instinct is to put it on somebody else.
Yes.
Especially if we have children.
So good.
That's our first instinct, is to put it on our children. But what happens if we don't put the oxygen on ourselves? We put it on our children and we're passed out. We cannot help our children. And so I want you to take that in a new, process it. How do we process? Okay, how do we process new information? Because once we learn some new information, we have to find a place to put it. Because sometimes, like, our brains can't contain, we can't go, our bodies can't go where our minds have not gone already. So if we cannot take action on something where our minds have not gone before that. So how do we do that? We have to get our minds to process that information. Okay, if it's new and it's something we've never experienced before, we've never heard before, or maybe we've heard it over and over again, but we probably just kind of washed over it and didn't really take the time to process it. And so we didn't take it into action. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to teach you about something called white space. And white space is how we process. Okay, have you ever, if we don't process, then we actually, we become less creative. Like we can't really, ingenuity comes from processing. Like we think about when your best ideas come. When do your best ideas come? Usually when you're in the bathroom, like the shower, or, say you're doing your business, okay? And why do we get like all of these creative ideas when we're in the bathroom? That's when we're quiet. That's when everything is put away, all the noise, everything that is being processed, all the noise, whatever that is, people talking, you have your phone going off, you have your alarm that went off in the morning, you have so many things, what you're gonna wear, all these things that you're processing, okay? And when you get into that time in the shower, you're taking a bath, you're doing your business, and that's the time when usually you at least get 2 minutes away from your kids. That might be it, but before they come knocking. But you get some time and you can reflect and you get some quiet to be able to process. And that's where you'll think of an idea. Like you'll get your brain will be able to process what it has heard the day before, what it's heard that day, and be able to make sense of it because you're processing it and not just having white noise. So you either need you need white space from the white noise. Okay, all the noise that's going on around you. Okay, so I'm going to explain what white space is. Okay, and the reason that's called white space is because you think of a piece of paper, and when you're writing on a piece of paper, you're writing within all these boundaries, right? Like this is where you're writing, this is a space where all the information is coming at you from other people, usually from what you're hearing from the TV, from even if you're doing teaching or training, that's especially when you have like you're doing some kind of training or personal development and you're getting all this new information and it's overwhelming. That's because you're trying to process all of this new information at once. Okay, so you're writing all the information that is coming at you in this space. So this is really like your brain processing the information that it's taking in. Okay, but what do you usually do in the margins? What are those? What are those that you're usually marking or highlighting something that stands out to you? Okay, so you're writing something of your thoughts about what you just heard. So that's what white space is. It's taking all the information that's in the middle and it's really taking this space that you can process. So that's what you need to do. And you need to figure out like what is your white space time? It could be walking. Okay, walking is an amazing thing because you're actually doing an activity, but you're not just having the white noise coming at you. So don't take if you're really using this as white space, don't take your phone to listen to music. Don't take your phone to talk. Don't do any of that because that's going to interrupt your white space to really process. But walking and doing activity while you're processing really actually can activate our brains. So we can also, taking a bath is a huge one. Like I said, like it's a time to relax. Your brain starts to relax and begin to process and think about what has happened throughout the day so that you can figure out like what that information means, what does it mean to you, and how can you respond. And usually you can think about the things that have happened the day before. You can think about, okay, this was what happened that was good. Okay, I want you to continually think about what have you done that you know is good, that it really was the essence of who you are, that you're really happy with what you got to accomplish for that day, however small it is. Because sometimes we're just waiting and looking for only the big things, but it could be the smallest of things. So remembering, like, what is it that you've done, that you've accomplished, and to think about maybe those things that you didn't do so well. Like, because sometimes we just beat ourselves up. We just, in our heads, we just sit there and we think, man, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have. And that usually what we focus on, we get more of. So if you're focusing on, well, I didn't do that right, I should have done this differently, and you're just continually in a loop, okay? What happens is a loop that you just continue to think on that thought instead of processing, okay, what did I do? What could I have done better? And what will I do next time? And how will that impact me for the future to help me towards my goals, to help me towards what I want to do and who I want to be? Because ultimately, that's what it's all about, us becoming the fullness of who we were designed to be, just like Ken had discussed before. That's why this training is so powerful, because it's going to walk you through how to discover who you were created and designed to be, so that you can do those things, those goals, and those action steps that will help you to get there. And so I hope that this has helped you. I hope that you take time to really have some white space. It's been the most powerful. When I heard this for the first time, I heard this in 2018. And it completely changed the way that I feel about myself. It was so freeing because I actually felt, especially as a parent, you can feel very guilty for those things, for taking that time to process and to take care of yourself, thinking that it's very selfish. But if that helps me take care of my children better, then that is not a selfish thing. That is actually an action that is helping and supporting myself and my children. And they deserve that too, as I deserve that. To be that at the end of the day, I can go put my head on the pillow and know that I was the best mom that I could be. I was the best wife that I could be. And this actually helped me so much that I realized that I needed some white space when I was with some members of my family, and to be able to process what had happened, because sometimes just the feelings that came up would create negative emotions in me, and I would have reactions instead of responding how I wanted to. And so this gave me the complete freedom and removing all of the guilt that this is who I am. This is who I was designed, that I have to process my emotions and feelings so I can know that I can respond the way that I want to. And it actually brought healing to a relationship with my brother that we hadn't talked very much in 7 years. It's so powerful that when you really apply this and take action to it, it will change the way, how much capacity that you are capable of, what you're even capable, what you think today that you're not capable, you don't have the capacity to do. Maybe there's that thing or that dream that you have, but you don't feel like you have the capacity to do it. If you apply this, really taking some white space, realizing that you could be over capacity, realizing the signs of being over capacity, and taking that white space to really process, this will be a very powerful thing and tool for your life. And so I challenge you and encourage you to really apply this, really think about it, and really do it.